In the indie scene, you'll fairly commonly see games inspired by classic platformers, RPGs, horror games, just about anything you can think of. Well, other than Star Fox, that is. I don't think I've ever personally heard of any fan games or any other similar modern titles taking inspiration from the Star Fox series, so when Ex-Zodiac popped up on my Twitter feed one day, I was certainly a little bit surprised, to say the least. Well, I was already planning on covering a Star Fox game soon, but hey, what the heck? Ex-Zodiac is coming out relatively soon, and I was sent an early access key by the publisher, so let's see what Ex-Zodiac brings to the table. If you've ever played a Star Fox game before, you'll feel right at home with the controls for this one, shooting lasers, bombs, and doing legally distinct airship flips. All of this feels exactly like you would think it would without any compromise. There's plenty of that classic fast-paced action with some bonus levels and a fun variety of bosses as well. It's also my understanding that there are some secret paths and levels, but if they're in the early access version, then it beats me where you're supposed to find them, as I don't think the game telegraphs it very well, again, assuming they are in this version. I've tried destroying certain obstacles, going through arcs in the ground, trying to find a fork in the road, and I haven't found anything yet, so I don't know if I'm just stupid, but that's where I'm at right now. But there are some bonus levels that can be found by destroying a specific enemy in each level and collecting their data card. Doing so will transport you to another level at the end of your current mission. The bonus stages take after another game from the 80s called Space Harrier, which I had honestly never heard of before playing this one, and if these levels are any indicator of why, then I can kinda see it. Not that the bonus levels are bad per se, but I think the gameplay is a lot more mundane here, besides the fact it can be very difficult to see where you're going given the camera angle and the large number of obstacles coming at you. Needless to say, I'm not a fan of these levels, but at least they're optional and very easily avoidable. Speaking of which, all but one of the main levels in the game use the same vehicles, which I was super glad to see, as I never really liked the alternate vehicles that Star Fox games introduced, since most if not all just feel like worse versions of the R-Ring. The closest you get to that in Ex-Zodiac is then the final level in the early access version, which is easily the most fast-paced, and I love it for that. I think it'll be a little bit off-putting for some players though, as even I had some difficulties keeping track of where I was in relation to enemy lasers. It's a very fun level and a great change of pace, but I could see it potentially causing some eye strain due to how fast it can get, especially with all of the obstacles that you can come crashing down if you shoot at them. Other than that, the game is a fairly straightforward experience that's not quite difficult enough to be frustrating, but not so easy that it's boring. It strikes a good balance of multiple Star Fox games designs, reminding me a lot of Star Fox Zero in terms of enemy numbers and placement, but also like Star Fox 64 and the SNES titles in regards to the level design and the secret paths. While it takes a lot of inspiration from the original Star Fox in particular, especially with the visual style, it sets itself apart whenever it comes to the locales, utilizing a gorgeous mixture of what I can assume to be pixel art for the effects, low poly models, and a lot of simple or flat color textures. Speaking of which though, if you think the game looks a little too pixelated, there's an option to toggle a resolution mode that'll give you a smoother and crisper looking visuals. I'm not sure what it is, but for some reason this filter reminds me a lot of Mega Man Legends, even though I've literally never played it. Someone please tell me if I'm crazy for thinking this. Moving back to the gameplay though, the bosses are crazy fun and creative as well. It shocked me how much consistent quality there is in this game, especially whenever it came to the bosses, as that's something that Star Fox games tend to struggle with the most, but there isn't a hint of that in Ex-Zodiac. There's not too much to say about them, but it's super satisfying to stockpile your bombs and then throw all of them at the bosses and just watch huge chunks of their health get taken away. When it comes to the content the game has so far though, that's just about all there is. It took me about 40 minutes to beat all of the current levels, and factoring in the bonus levels, that might add on another 30 to 50 minutes. There's also the alternate paths, which may or may not be in the game, though I'm still not sure about that. This game is still highly replayable regardless though, especially for the score system, as I feel it's a lot more rewarding than typical Star Fox games, but I think that's mostly in part due to it being a little easier to get higher scores. It also helps that you're not constantly having to keep enemies off of your teammates, given that you don't have any in Ex-Zodiac. A lot of people tend to unfairly ignore shorter games purely because of the argument that I should get the same amount of playtime in the game as the amount I paid for it. That itself could be an entirely separate video, but the gist of my thoughts are that a lot of games aren't designed to be these big 20-40 hour experiences. Some are designed to be more compact, but offer up a lot of extras to encourage players to replay the game and find said extras. And that's okay. To clarify, I do think some short games can be overpriced. I'm not saying they're exempt from that sort of criticism, but for me, if I'm left feeling satisfied with what I played and I want to come back for more at some point, then that's enough for me, and I can say the same is true for Ex-Zodiac. Ex-Zodiac is a fantastic game so far, and I have full confidence in the developer for the rest of the game's development, and I cannot wait for its full release. That said, thank you all so much for watching, consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Later!